Who dat to the Who Dat Nation? Welcome to the Who Dat Say podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. I am your fellow Who Dat and host of the Who Dat Say podcast, Kevin Reid, and I've decided to jump on here to discuss a couple of things, both of which involve around our wide receiver room over there on Airline. We have two big stories that come out within the last few days over there on Airline at the Saints training facility. First and foremost, we had the extension of wide receiver Chris Olave. He just signed a big deal over there, but not to be outdone, just a couple of days later, over this past weekend, wide receiver Jaylen Polk decided to step away from the NFL. He decided to retire at the ripe young age of 24 years old. And this was surprising news. Nobody saw this coming. Especially we heard about him in off OTAs, off-season training. He went and worked out with Tyler Shuck over the off-season. Seems like he was really starting to shine in mini camp. He was there at the start of training camp just this past week. Everything was looking good for Jaylen Polk. And voila, all of a sudden, he decides to step away. And I don't know what the reason is. Nobody has given a clear-cut answer as to why he decided to step away, but here we are. There's a couple of theories. We can throw out all the theories and rumors if you want. I think some of the early projections had him at the fourth receiver on the team right now, behind Chris Olave, Jordan Tyson, who we just picked up in the draft, Devon Vele, who was the star last season for the New Orleans Saints, and then Jaylen Polk. And that could have played a role. I don't know. I'm just speculating right now because, once again, we didn't get a clear-cut answer as to why he walked away. I know a lot of, early on when they first announced this that, I guess that injury was more severe than people really thought. Well, no, according to everybody in the Saints organization, he was healthy and he was happy with his role. It wasn't any spite or any resentment shown. Now, he could have been mad in silence, but as far as his attitude around the team and in the facilities, it was all good. He is a former second-round pick, just from a few years ago, picked up by the New England Patriots. The Saints made a questionable trade last season, which I often questioned when they made this trade. The Saints traded with the New England Patriots that saw the Saints get Polk and a 2028 7th-round draft pick in exchange for a 6th-round pick in 2027. And on paper, that seemed like a blockbuster deal for the New Orleans Saints. I mean, you got a 2nd-round talent for basically nothing, but there's always a stipulation there. There's always some fine blueprint, and the blueprint was Polk was injured. He was on IR, and so he didn't play none of last season because he was recovering from, I think, an ACL or MCL, or it could have been both. I forgot what it was, but he was on IR, and that's where I was like, what? We made a trade for for a hurt player? It didn't make sense. That's the only thing that bothered me. I remember watching Polk when he got to New England. He made a couple of plays here or there. I didn't watch New England thoroughly enough to say that, oh man, we got a steal there. None of that. But I felt, okay, there's a body, but what is he going to do? And then in the offseason, the Saints, they drafted Jordan Tyson. They extended Chris Olave because the thought was, at least my thoughts, where they probably were planning on moving on from Olave because they didn't want to pay Olave all that money because of his injury and history, with the concussions and everything. And so I was like, okay, I can see them doing that. Even though I like Olave, I don't want to see Olave go. But I can see why they made the moves they made. Bringing in Polk, drafting Tyson, and you still have pieces that are currently on the team with Avele and so on and so forth. So you had options there. So it made sense in the grand scheme of it all. And so we fast forward to now, and I guess things are playing out a little differently because you gave Olave this big extension, 4 years, $132 million, and $90 million of that 132 guaranteed. And so that's a nice chunk. That's a nice chunk of change to pay Chris Olave. Now, am I happy he got his money? Absolutely. I'm happy the man got his money. But do I also, at the same exact time, feel that we kind of overpaid for Olave? Yes. And the reason I feel that way is because he hasn't shown me $132 million worth of potential. Now, I believe he can, given the right opportunity, but I'm still, in the back of my mind, I'm still skeptical about those concussions because it isn't one. He didn't have one 5 years ago. No, he has multiple. He's had multiple concussions, and it's scary, especially a physical receiver like he is, who's constantly going up and getting those balls and bringing them down, leaving himself exposed in the middle of the field. Nonetheless, that's a scary thing. I don't want to see it happen to him. It all last year, every time that ball went up in the air and I saw Chris Olave in the area, I'm telling you, my stomach tightened up. I was so scared for that man. I really was. And thank God nothing happened, and I pray to God that nothing happens going forward. And so we'll see. I mean, what's the worst that can happen at this point? I mean, you still have contingency plans. I still feel that Jordan Tyson can probably step up in the event, knock on wood, God forbid, that nothing happens or something happens to Olave. Okay, we're still in pretty good shape, but I think that the wide receiver room might need another piece though. Kellen Moore on Monday stated that he has no plans to bring in another receiver. That wide receiver room is still pretty stacked, which it is, which it truly is. But it doesn't hurt. This is camp. This is training camp. I think it doesn't hurt to bring in another body, somebody who can probably push these guys, especially when you have young guys like Tyson, who can use some veteran leadership on the team. Even Olave and Vele, I mean, they can use some leadership on this team. And speaking of trades from last season, that was another trade that the Saints made last season, getting Devon Vele. And so, the Saints will really put a lot of weapons at Tyler Shuck's disposal. So we'll see how this all plays out. I mean, we still got a long way to go before the official start of the NFL season. A little over a month now. It's a long training camp. We'll see. Maybe they'll bring somebody in at the end, or maybe they feel confident in what they have. If what we have is good enough, I'm all for it. And to be 100% honest with you, I'm saying bring in another receiver and give the wide receiver room a little more veteran leadership, a little more cachet. I still feel this team needs to lean heavy on their run game. It is essential to Tyler Shuck's development and this team's development. You need to run the ball. You have Travis Etienne. You have Alvin Kamara. You still have Devon Neal. You still have Kendrick Miller for what that's worth. and you have a few more running backs on the team. Estime, he's still on the team. You still have a nice, good running back room as well. So lean heavy on the run game. You know, all the weapons is good. I know it's like a kid at Toys R Us, you know, with free reign. He's allowed to play with anything in the store. It's tempting, but I wouldn't be jacking the ball up 60 times a game with this guy. Any quarterback, even if Drew Brees was still on the team, I wouldn't want him to jack the ball up as much as he did. You know, you remember when we didn't have a run game for a few years in the Sean Payton, Drew Brees era, and Drew Brees was jacking that ball up like crazy. That's why his shoulder is done now. Drew Brees said, and congratulations to Drew Brees once again. I'm gonna say it every time I can because nobody deserves it more. In a couple of days now, he will be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, rightfully so, first ballot. I mean, nobody deserves a gold jacket more than anybody. But he said in a recent interview how he can't move his arm. He can barely move that arm. He had I forgot what he called it. Oh man, something with his shoulder. He can barely move it now. He can barely go out and throw the ball with his sons and stuff. It's that bad. How much he threw that ball. I mean, slinging it like crazy. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. But back to the Jaylen Polk of it all. I will say this. I hate to speculate. I hate to, throw rumors out there or whatever. This is just my opinion. This is just my thoughts in my head. I honestly don't think he wanted to be here. And I don't think it's a slight against the Saints. I don't think he had anything personal against the Who Dat Nation. He just looked at his position. And it felt like, man, I'm not a number 4. He was that far down the depth chart. He was number 4 on this team. And it happens. And he is a player. When he was healthy, when he was at his peak, he was a number 1 receiver. He was truly a number 1 type receiver. And to be bumped down to 4, to say he worked so hard to get back and to be the 4th best player on the team. Now, I'll say this much. He should have let it play it out. He should have went out there and earned it. Maybe he could have caused the Valet to sit. Maybe he could have caused the Jordan Tyson to sit, or move to the 4th spot or whatever. Go out there and fight for it. Or they told him flat out, like, look, no matter what you do, because this is a possibility, no matter what you do, this is your role. This is it. There's nothing you can do to change your position on this team. And now that could be frustrating. That could be upsetting. And to the point where, you know what, I'll just step away because it don't make sense. And I don't know, man, because Kellen Moore says it's personal decision. Now, it could be a personal decision. It could be something going on in his family, something going on with him mentally. It could be a vast variety of things. Who knows? Nobody knows. Only he knows, and I'm assuming the Saints know. I'm assuming the organization know. They're just so tight-lipped. And that's what drives me crazy with the Saints. I'm not saying you should tell every little aspect of every little thing over there on airline. Everything isn't our business. But at the same time, they keep every little detail there locked under. The TSA isn't that secretive. Not the TSA. The NSA, the National Security, they don't keep those secrets that tight like they do on airline. They are so tight-lipped about everything, even the things that are so trivial that it's like, why are you keeping this a secret? And then half the time, the Who Dat Nation know the answer. We already know. We just want confirmation. They won't even give you that. It drives me insane when they do that, especially Mickey Loomis. Anyway, don't get me started with that. But nobody is saying anything, and that's upsetting because if it's something serious, if it's something he's going through, maybe somebody can help him. Maybe somebody out here can help him. You know, obviously he needs help. The man walked away from a dream gig for millions of youngsters, millions of kids who have fought and get to this level. You know, you go through Pop Warner, Park Ball, high school ball. You go through college. You go through all this rigorous training throughout the year. You go through the combine. You go get drafted. You finally make it to the NFL. You get hurt. You get traded, and then you say, I'm good. It just doesn't add up to me. You know, especially if you're truly healthy. Now, if that injury, if he felt a little tweak or something during practice, now that can play on your mental. That can play on your game. Like, man, I worked too hard to get back here and to be hurt this early. A la Brian Brzee, who I didn't touch in on because we were talking about receivers throughout the show. But Brian Brzee is out for the year. In case you don't know that news, our defensive tackle, first day of camp, non-contact, ACL went kaput. You can't make this up, people. It's unbelievable. I wish him a healthy recovery, though. It sucks, but it's really a question of what are they doing in the off season? And I say there are a lot of soft tissue damage injuries that have happened throughout the league. Even go past the NFL. You can look at the NBA. This soft tissue damage injuries. It's like nobody is taking care of their bodies properly. It's sad, really. It's sad that we've gotten to this. Because back in my day, you know, players used to run those 2-a-days, 3-a-days, and be at full pad practices all day long. It never got hurt like this. Now, every little thing, it's non-contact. I don't know, man. It's something that needs to be studied. It's something that needs to be done to protect these guys from these type of injuries. It's upsetting. But anyway, maybe that played in his mind. Maybe he got PTSD when he saw Brian Brzee hit the ground. You know, stuff like that. Any little thing. Like I said, these are all speculative. This is me trying to pull something out of nothing. But I want the man to succeed. You know, I was really, really excited. I guess that's why I'm so disappointed with this news, is because I had some high hopes for Jaylen Polk on this team. I really thought he was going to come out and shock the world this season. I thought he was geared up because he was all the talk in minicamp and off-season workouts. Everybody was talking about how good he looked, how he was running his routes, how he was catching the ball. Everything was coming together. And I was looking forward to seeing it on the field, and no. No. Oh, man, it's very disappointing, but I do wish him well. I hope that everything's all right. I hope if it's a mental thing, I hope he gets the help he needs and find a way back on some team. If it's not the Saints, somewhere where he can flourish, you know. If it's something petty like he didn't want to be the fourth wheel in the wide receiver room, I mean, come on, get over it, bro. Yeah, this the NFL. Opportunity comes fast and furious in the NFL. Unfortunately, we were just talking about injuries. Injuries happen every week, every day in camp. Who knows? He probably could have got traded again, you know, to another team that needs him bad. And Saints could have got, you know, more picks for him, you know. But that brings me to this: was that a worthy trade? Did we get our trade value out of this? Well, you would think to say no, because he never touched the field. So I don't know if that causes the draft to renege or anything. I don't know what the ramifications of this are long term as far as compensation for the New England Patriots or for the New Orleans Saints. How does this work? I don't know. Like I said, they're tight-lipped. They're super tight-lipped. about the situation. Maybe it's an ongoing thing as far as the Saints trying to get down to the bottom of what's really going on. Maybe they really don't know because he didn't show up to practice on Friday. He just didn't show up. He was there for, like I said, every meeting, all the off-season stuff, all the mini camps and all this other stuff. First day of training camp, every day after until Friday. And he was just not there. And he informed the team over the weekend, I'm out. So I don't know. This is an unsolved mystery that I really need solved because I'm more curious or nosy or whatever about it than anything else. But hey, man, I still have confidence in what we have. This isn't a big blow like, oh man, the Saints gonna suck next year because of it. Saints going to be the same Saints that we were going to get with Polk, we're going to get without him next season. And that is, I think, is going to be a competitive team, not a Super Bowl team. I need, because I've had, since the start of training camp, I don't know if that awakened something in people in the Who Dat Nation, but man, I've had conversations where people are flying off the handles like, man, we got it this year, man. We're gonna win 12 or 13 games and blah blah blah. Wait, whoa, calm down. Let's calm down here, because you telling me we're only gonna lose 4 games next season? I don't see that. I mean, have you looked at that schedule? No, I don't see that. Do I see the Saints contending for this division? Absolutely. I think the Saints have a real good shot of winning this division, but as you have seen over the last few seasons, it don't take much to win this division. You can win this division with 8 games easily. 8 or 9 games should get you the NFC South. That's how bad this division is. It has actually gotten worse if you look around. Nothing has improved. The only team that has improved in this division is the Saints. Talent-wise, I don't see any other. Atlanta didn't. Tampa Bay certainly didn't. And Carolina, I don't know. They are allergic to getting receivers. So they have not. Nobody else has improved. And so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm tempering my expectations as for right now. I don't know what this team consists of or what they're going to do. Even after we get through this preseason, I'm still going to be skeptical because it's a preseason. You know, this isn't going to be a full playbook display of what we can expect throughout this regular season. It's just going to be tryouts basically. So I don't know, man. I'm still excited going forward, even though one of my biggest storylines going into this season is now done. So I'm still excited. You know, the defense, all accounts show that the defensive line is looking good in camp. They're getting a lot of pressure up the middle. The secondary is looking good, but that can go one or two ways. You can look at it one or two ways, I should say. That is, the defensive line improved and getting better, or has our offensive line gotten worse? And you may ask yourself, how can it be any worse than it was last season? It can get worse. So I don't know. Once again, we'll have to wait and see. But that is the news coming out of Saints camp so far. We're not even a week in, and we already got 50 different stories coming out. Brian Brzee is out for the season. Chris Olave has signed his deal. And wide receiver Jaylen Polk has retired from the NFL at the age of 24. We'll see if any other news breaks before we get to our first preseason game. There's too much going on before we've wrapped up a full week of practice. That is way too much, and not all good news. And so let's hope and pray that we start trending in a better direction moving forward. But I would like to know, what do you think of this sudden news of the retirement of Jaylen Polk from the squad? Do you think it's something nefarious Do you think it's some shenanigans going on, or do you think it's truly the man's going through some personal issues that he needs to sort out by himself? Either way, I mean, either way, it's his business. At the end of the day, it was his decision. He wasn't forced out, but it's something that he has to deal with. So I'd just like to know what's your thoughts. You can contact the show on our website, thekbradionetwork.com. You can subscribe to the website and get notified of episodes dropping anytime. Also, don't forget about the YouTube channel, the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube, where you can like this video and subscribe while you there. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Who Dat Say podcast here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this little chit chat about wide receiver Jaylen Polk retiring from the New Orleans Saints and the NFL. Well, next man up, as they say. We're going to march on. Let's see how the Saints respond going forward. Until we get to our first preseason game next week, I'm going to be screaming, "Who dat?"